What's up guys, your boy Ethan, hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to another video, back to Encore, playing some 1-3. It's 8 p.m. right now on a Monday night. We're gonna see what happens. Playing some 1-3, you know the action's gonna be good. Anytime after midnight, it's gonna be a good time. Here with my boy Dan, quick little shout out to a new YouTube channel that Dan is going to be the star of and I'm just kinda helping run. It's called Splitting Deuces. If you like blackjack and if you're a DJ and want to watch some blackjack content, feel free to click the link down below and you know, click on that because we're making a blackjack video. Any words about the blackjack video for Splitting Deuces?
Just a couple of DJs running it up. You know, if you watch the video, appreciate it.
If you like blackjack, click the link below. Watch some cool videos, helping producing it. So, anyways, let's get on to some hands and start the session. Getting into the hands, before we do that, different background, different scenery for this video because I'm actually recording in a Encore room. This place, super nice. Oh my goodness. Like, get to stay here for the night, and of course, the one thing that I'm doing tonight is making a video and recording some hands for you guys. Anyways, super dope. I'll probably include some footage of the room before, but honestly, this place is incredible. First hand that we'll go over, we have Ace Jack of Hearts in the small blind. A middle position player opens it up to $12 and I decide to make the call in the small blind. Just going to play this hand. No need to bloat up the size of the pot right now, out of position. We're gonna go heads up to a flop. Flop comes Ace 6-7, 2 diamonds out there. I check on an ace high board, he bets $20. Not going anywhere, I decide to make the call. We're off to a turn which comes the 8 of diamonds, so super connected board now, and also the flush draw gets there. I check, and he bets a small bet of $30, and once again, I go ahead and make the call. River comes the 9 of hearts, bring in a 4-liner, and we are just really not beating a whole lot. We lose to a bunch of draws, lose to a bunch of 2 pairs, lose to ace 10, and obviously ace king and ace queen. So here, not really loving it. Let's try to go to showdown. I go ahead and check. He bets $50. Like I said, I don't beat a whole lot. I really only beat bluffs, and $50 too small to be a bluff. I let it go with top pair, and we're moving on. Handed for that, we have King Jack offsuit in late position. An early position player limps, and here just going to raise it up to $15. We get 3-bet by the small blind up to a whopping size of $30. It folds all the way back to me, and I toss in 3 more red chips, and we make the call. So let's go to a flop, heads up in position. Flop comes Queen, Queen 10, 2 spades out there, and he checks to me. Really weird spots. Didn't expect him to check on this board here, but I'm going to bet $40 on this board here, open-ended, and I can rep a queen a lot of the time if he has a hand like ace king, whatever. I bet 40 and he makes the call. The turn comes the jack of diamonds, so board is a lot more coordinated. Hands like ace king obviously improve. And yeah, not a great card really, but when he checks to me, just going to pot control, no need to bet in this spot. I go ahead and check. River comes the deuce of spades, so the spade draw gets there, and he leads out for $75. Really not a spot that I feel too great in, just with second pair. I mean, 3-bet pot. I mean, this is going to smash his range, so I lay it down. There really wasn't a sizing that I ever could have called a river bet. He shows the good old nuts pocket queens for flopped quads, so nice hand by him and pretty interesting for us to run into quads. Next hand, we have ace 10 offsuit in the big blind. There's an Untitled Straddle, and there are 3 limpers to me. Here with ace 10 offsuit, a couple of things I could go with this. I could absolutely raise in this spot. We gotta make it big with a fairly marginal hand, or we play a lower variance game and just put in the $3 and see what happens. I decided to put in $3, we just limp, and the Untitled checks. So we are off to a flop 5 ways. 5 ways, flop comes ace 8-6 rainbow. Here, flopping top pair, I'm going to lead out in this spot when action's on to me, so I go ahead and bet $15, about half pot. Only a player in middle position makes the call. We're off to a turn, which is the deuce of spades, and once again with my top pair and fairly decent kicker, or at least an above average kicker for my range, I bet $40. He thinks for a little bit and raises us, actually. Raises us to $115, and this is just weird. I know that he's a fairly tight player. He's actually a good buddy of mine, Dan, who watches the channel, so shout out to you for being in this hand. So I know that he's playing for value, but I mean, 115, what is he really raising with? I don't think he's gonna raise with hands like ace 9, ace 7, or hands like that, so it's really geared more towards just 2 pair hands, either 8-6, which shouldn't be in this range, but ace-8 and ace-6 definitely could be. So not really thinking that I can be good here a lot of the time. You could also just raise weird ace-queen, ace-jack type of hands. So I go ahead and fold. We're fairly friendly, and later he told us that he had ace-9, so I guess nice raise, but got me to fold the best hand, unfortunately. Just didn't think I could call the extra $80. And after that, we have pocket 9s on the gun +1. I raised to $18 over an under the gun limper. We get 2 callers in the big blind and under the gun. So we are off to a flop 3 ways in position. Flop comes ace, ace, 10, 2 spades out there. Action checks to me here. Really not loving this board, but I think I can get someone to call with a spade draw. Really just targeting flush draws here. I bet $25. And when both players make the call, we're shutting down, not really loving this spot, trying to get the showdown with our 1 pair hand. So we're off to a turn, which is the 4 of diamonds. Action checks to me once again. Like I said, we're just gonna have to shut down when both players make the call. Sometimes I can target more flush draws if we were heads up to this turn, but regardless, I'm only getting better to call if I do bet. So we're off to a river 3 ways. River comes the 7 of hearts, the spade draws brick out, and the big blind actually leads for $100. On the gun player folds, and here I'm not calling this. He's definitely got an ace like 9 times out of 10. So I fold, and the big blind shows an ace. So once again, this opponent was Dan. So shout out to you once again. You made it twice on the vlog. I raise it up to $18 after another under the gun limper, and only the player to my left makes the call in early position on the gun +2, whatever position you want to call it, 7 ways. So we're off to a flop, out of position, heads up. Flop comes queen jack 7 rainbow. Awesome, awesome board for us. Flopping bottom set, and he definitely could have a lot of queen X's in his hands, king 10s, a lot of draws. Let's go ahead and bet this. I bet $25, and he makes the call pretty quickly. So we're off to a turn. Turn comes the case 7, so we turn quads. Loving the spots here. I've been fairly aggressive so far. Let's continue to try and bet at this thing. We bet $60. Once again, he thinks about it for a little bit and makes the call for 60. So let's try to get some more value, see what happens. The river is an 8. Not really a card that changes a whole lot besides 9, 10. And on this paired board here, just trying to think of a size that he can get called by. I want to go for maximum pressure and maximum value. So I go ahead and try to polarize myself and bet $175. Had about 250 in our stack, so we had a pretty awkward stack sizing. Wanted to get max value here since he covered us. He thinks for a little bit and folds, so probably a sizing of maybe $100, $150, $125, somewhere a little bit smaller. Could have gotten some value, but unfortunately we don't get any more money after turning quads. While editing this video, I had to make another nice, huge shout out to a few people who cashed pretty deep in the following tournaments on Poker Bros. So number 1, Camaris, shout out to you for turning a $5 buy-in into $490. Following that was a $3 buy-in, $3 tournament. Lutzy Mason for cashing it and banking it, $293 for first place. And last but not least, Brendan, who recently banked a $548 score from one of those another daily $5 tournaments. So the tournaments can get really big. A bunch of people also cashed and ran deep as well in other big tournaments, but I don't have the cool screenshots because you guys missed out. So one, if you already play with me on this Poker Bros app and you run deep in a tournament, screenshot the final results so I can actually give you a shout out on the channel here. And 2, if you haven't already, check them out. Awesome daily tournaments, whether it be $5 tournaments or $25 tournaments. Massively big guarantees that I'm actually playing right now. And also another huge shout out to Oliver for the cash games. He has been running it up big time. There are just literally so many cash games and so much action going on a daily basis. Games are running 24/7, and if you want more information, always just hit me up. Email me in the description down below. Shoot me an email, shoot me a message on Telegram, but definitely recommend it. It's all for real money, and processing both withdrawals and cash outs are super quick. So if you're interested, just shoot me a quick email and I'll send some information over to you. 2 hands later, we actually pick up aces, so that is a pretty nice hand. We go ahead and raise it up to $23 after 4 players limp. and only the on-the-gun player makes the call when I raise it up to $23. So once again, back to this player to my left. Flop comes queen, 10-9, 2 hearts out there, so pretty connected board to say the least. I go ahead and lead out $40 on this fairly wet board, and he quickly makes the call. We're off to a turn heads up. Turn comes the 8 of spades, so disastrous card for us, and this is where things kind of go off the rails. Here should be checking and shutting down in this spot. I decide to go ahead and make a blocker bet of $50. This, just any sort of blocker bet, is kind of dumb. Like really just like I'm getting called by 2 pairs, getting called by a jack obviously, and really not getting called by a whole lot more. So I bet $50, he makes the call. We're off to a river, which is the 3 of clubs. I check, he bets $100, and I don't even think about it for much. Just a little annoyed and just playing pretty bad here. I make the call, knowing I'm beat here all the time, but for some reason, just couldn't let go of the aces. He obviously shows us a jack. He had queen jack offsuit for the straight, so we just lost $150 just for fun there. That's our fault, just throwing this in here because, you know, this is an example of playing pretty bad and playing really, really bad, just giving away money. Our table gets a little too short, so we end up switching, and here in this new table, we have a pretty dynamic action-y player here, so let's talk about it. We have pocket kings in the small blind, and there's an Untitled Straddle. Awesome situation to be in. A better situation to be in is that there are 4 limpers to the button. Button in this spot is Shane, who also watches this channel. Shout out to you. He hates money and raises it up to $35. Obviously going to be 3-betting here, out of position. It's a lovely spot to be in. I 3-bet to $125, and it folds to a middle position player who ends up tanking and calling the $35. He tanked for like a minute, didn't see that I 3-bet to $125 and called $35. He didn't think I raised. So after realizing that the actual bet is $125, he thinks for, once again, for a little bit, and then jams $180-ish total. It folds all the way around to me, and here against this specific player, obviously we are going with it. We're going heads up to a flop. The flop comes 10-9-5, all diamonds. We're not really loving this spot, but with checkered cards, we do have the queen of diamonds. The turn is the 4 of clubs. River is the 6 of diamonds, so we river the 6 high flush. But turns out we didn't need any help because he showed jack 7 of hearts. Wow, okay, we'll take it. Next spot that we are in, we have pocket kings once again in the cutoff. There are 2 limpers to me. I raise it up to $20. The button makes the call. He's a fairly good reg that I've been friendly with, and also one of the early position limpers make the call as well. So we're off to a flop in middle position. Flop comes 10-8-4, 2 diamonds out there. Checks to me, going to c-bet obviously. I c-bet $40. The button doesn't think too long before raising things up to $130 with about $300 behind. It folds all the way back to me, and here I got a decision to make. I can flat, I can raise, I can rip it in, but folding definitely not an option against this player who could definitely have a mixture of combo draws or 2 pairs or sets. I mean, he's a pretty good player, so it could be raising light as well. So thinking that he could potentially be making a move here, I just go ahead and rip it all in. Not a whole lot of a decision to make here with such a strong hand. I do have the king of diamonds once again, so I guess backdoor diamonds could be a factor here. But I jam 430 effective. He snap folds 7 deuce of spades, so that was pretty fun to see for the table, and thought I'd share that for the vlog. Next hand we'll go over, we have ace 9 of diamonds in the cutoff. I raise it up to $20 over 2 limpers. The button makes the call once again, and both limpers make the call, so we're off 4 ways to a flop in the cutoff. Flop comes decent for us. It's 9 high, it's 9-7-4, 2 hearts out there. So when action checks to me, I mean, what am I gonna ask for with top pair, top kicker here on this board? I bet $55, and only the button makes the call. The turn comes the queen of spades, and I look at his stack. It's about $230 total, so we cover him. I don't think this queen should really affect a whole lot, besides specifically queen high flush draws. But besides that, I mean, if he hit it, we hit it, but I just don't think that's really in his range right now when he makes this call here. So thinking I'm still ahead with the queen being a non-factor, I bet $130, committing myself to a stack if he does call. So he thinks for a little bit and ends up jamming it all in. I make the call here with a pair of 9s. River comes the 6 of clubs, so board a lot more connected. I show my hand and we are good, since he said he had a pair of 6s. He said they had a straight flush draw, so 5, 6 of hearts. We dodge a lot of his outs there, I think, and we take it down with a pair of 9s. This hand here is interesting and fun, I guess. I'm in the small blind with King Jack of spades. There's one limper. Cutoff raises it up to $6. That's so weird. Min raise to 6. And the button raised it up to $20 here. I'm knowing he's also a pretty good reg player here. I know he can be squeezing light sometimes, just trying to ISO against this player that min opened. Like, I don't know. I go ahead and 3-bet to $70 at this point. It folds all the way back to the button and he decides to make the call, so we're off to a flop. Flop comes ace high, it's ace 3-3 with the ace of spades. So here is a decent board to down bet on. I have a bunch of ace X's in my range. Also backdoor nut flush draw as well, so we're gonna see what happens here. I like to choose a sizing of $60 down betting. I think I can get a lot of just hands that I'm behind to fold, any sort of pocket pair. I mean, I've got a bunch of aces, so my down bet should work a lot of the time, but here he makes the call, so it seems like he's probably got an ace himself or something like that, but we're going to the turn, seeing what happens. Turn comes the 3 of spades. So with 3 3s out there, our nut flush draw that we did improve on won't be too great. So here, I'm just gonna check here. He's got an ace here a lot of the time. But here he ends up checking it back, so we're off to a river. River comes the 7 of spades. Nut flush, look at us. Nut flush on a board with trips, so I check, praying that he checks it back, but he throws out a bet of $75. This is pretty gross. I mean, I don't think he necessarily has an ace, but he's definitely got a pair, and I don't think I can really turn my nut flush into a bluff by raising him or check raising him in this spot. So I go ahead and just fold. I fold face up because we're friendly, and he said he had a pair, so bear's a boat. So his boat beats my nut flush, unfortunately, but pretty interesting run out there. Following hand, we have ace queen offsuit in the cutoff. I've got a decent amount in my stack. I'm not really sure at this point. And there's a straddle as well, so that's always fun. There's a limper to the hijack who raises things up to $27. His range is super narrow, super tight, and really only raises when he has pretty good hands here. So in position of this player, I don't really want to blow up the pot too much right now. I go ahead and just flat the $27, and we get some action as the button and limper make the call as well. So we're off to a flop multi-way. Flop comes queen, 9-3 rainbow, pretty dry board, and action checks to me. Here, flopping top, going to be betting for value. I go ahead for a sizing of $65. Player next to act on the button, who we've been pretty friendly and active with so far this session. He raises me to $190, and action folds all the way back to me. Once again, we're back to another situation with him where we're probably going to be playing a big pot. Looking at his stack, he's got about $240 total behind. And this is such a dry board. Like, what could he potentially be repping here? I mean, pocket 9s, pocket 3s are sets, but besides that, there's really not a whole lot. Could be raising me here with a hand like Jack 10 with the backdoor flush draw. Could have a lot of hands here, but he is committing half of his stack. Just contemplating the 3 options I have here. I don't think I'm going to be folding here a lot with top. So here I decide to just call and try to evaluate a turn, and if he jams, I'm probably just gonna have to call as well. So we're off to a turn which comes the 4 of clubs, bring in a backdoor flush draw. I check, and as expected, he jams his whole stack of $240 total. I told myself that I was just gonna call a jam regardless. If we're behind against the set, so be it. But we're gonna see what happens. When I make the call, he asks if I flopped a set. So that's not really great news. He shows over queen 9 offsuit, which is unfortunate for us. We're off to a river. River comes the ace of clubs. Oh my goodness, we just sucked out big time. In a pretty big pot against this player that we've been friendly with. Yeah, so we get there on the river. We river top 2 pair over his flop to top 2, or still turn top 2. And we get there with a 3 outer. Super lucky in this situation here. One thing I will say to this player, super nice playing with you, appreciate you being a good sport about it. Yeah, definitely feels bad to suck out big time in a pot this big. Last hand of the night that we'll go over, we have pocket 5s in the big blind with an under the gun straddle, and we're playing 5-handed. And here, for the first time all night, I mean, there's been a ton of action. People have been super aggressive. It's a 5-way friendly limped pot, so we're gonna see what happens on the flop. Flop comes 3, 5, 6, 2 spades out there. So we flop middle set once again, and there's going to be a lot of action on this table, I bet. So flopping top set out of position, I'm just gonna have to lead out in this spot. I throw out a bet of $20, and 2 players in middle position decide to make the call, which is interesting. More interestingly enough, we get more action as the button raises us to $60. This is the player that I really wanted to isolate because he has been playing every hand, being super active, super aggressive. He's not afraid to get it in. So for those reasons, not only are we super strong with middle set here, but also we want to play against this player. Also, reopening the pot once again too. So here when actions to me, it's an easy 3-bet spot. So definitely going to have to re-raise over the top of him. He has about $470 total and we cover him obviously. I go ahead and 3-bet to $200. Action folds all the way back to him and he tanks for a long, long time. After tanking, he ends up making the call. So with about $270 behind, we are off to a turn. Turn comes the 4 of diamonds, 4-liner on the board here, and this is not the most ideal card in the world, obviously, but pretty decent card for us as we're not really afraid of him calling $200 for a gutter ball. Although he's super actiony, I don't think he'll do that, and if he does, so be it. I mean, he deserves it for hitting his gutter ball, but not worried about it since we're heads up. Would be a lot more worried if we were multi-way, but here I just go ahead and lead out and just jam it all in. I think he's active enough to go ahead and call with 2 pair, whether it be 6-4, whether it be 3-6, whatever. I don't know. He could have a whole lot, but I'm not putting him on a straight right now. Let's try to go for max value with our set. He tanks for a long time, anywhere between 3 to 4 minutes total, and ultimately ends up folding. So we take it down there. Probably had spades. We're not really sure. But at the end of the day, we got some additional value, and I'm glad that we got to isolate him when that disastrous 4 comes on the turn.
No,
I haven't. Not at all. We're doing this again, aren't we? It's 6 a.m., 6 in the morning. We got here around 8 p.m., 6 a.m., so we played for a while. About 9.5 hours of poker later, we ran it up. I went through a lot of hands, but we played a lot of hands, obviously. Didn't go over all of, like, I don't know how many I actually recorded. I sucked out a bunch, I ran really hot. That's all I can say about a session like this. Had a maniac at the table, and he was still there, but just had to get out of there. I was playing okay, but obviously not my A game, so decided to call it quits here. It's 6 a.m. Like, I'm sorry, I'm tired. As much as the game is good, and I could have just kept on playing very standardly. I mean, I don't know, just keep on running good. The first 4 or 5 hours of the session was actually pretty terrible. I misplayed aces super early on, and I was pretty much break even from there. So that's all I got. Results to my left are on the screen wherever I'm putting this. Those are the results in the game for 500, out of the game for 2200, basically. A little under 2200, so pretty big, or not 22, 26. So yeah, over a 2K win at 1-3 is always pretty sweet. So thanks for following along. It's been I'm just so tired. But appreciate you guys following along. It means a ton that you guys are watching these videos. I've been on an absolute heater in these cash games recently. Hopefully it'll keep on coming. I don't know, this is a really great way to end 2019, by the way. It's December, it's New Year's Eve actually right now, so at 6 a.m. Freaking crazy. But thank you guys so much for following along. It's been a great end to 2019. Hopefully 2020 brings some better sessions and cooler sessions, but besides that, yeah, like the video if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.